The main attraction at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum is the Wright Flyer. The legendary aircraft was the first to fly back in 1903 in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Or was it? That's the question these days. Michelle Miller looks at the announcement that's putting history up in the air.
They've been called the fathers of aviation. Brothers whose liftoff above a sand dune in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina 110 years ago radically changed the course of the 20th century.
The Wright brothers are the root of everything that's happened in flight since their time.
But what if the Smithsonian senior curator and historian is wrong? What if the brothers Wright weren't the first in flight after all?
Who was Gustav Whitehead?
He was a German immigrant who came to Bridgeport around 1900 and built an airplane. And that airplane flew in 1901.
Andy Kosh has spent the last 30 years spreading the word of Connecticut's aviation pioneer. He even built a replica of number 21, the aircraft he says Whitehead piloted on August 14, 1901, and flew 1.5 miles, some 50 feet above Bridgeport.
I'm not saying that Whitehead's airplane was as good as the Wright brothers, but it flew and it was controllable, and he got off 2 years before the Wright brothers, and he should get credit.
Now Kosh's belief has some serious backing from the publication known as the Bible of Aviation, Jane's All the World's Aircraft.
We're finally getting some serious recognition. Gustav Whitehead is now going to get credit.
In the 100th anniversary edition of the publication, editor Paul Jackson said an injustice is rectified with only slight bruising to Wilbur and Orville's reputation. The Wrights were right, but Whitehead was ahead. Jackson pointed to research unearthed by aviation historian John Brown, evidence he uploaded to this website. It includes newspaper accounts and historical photographs like this one, which researchers believe shows Whitehead in flight. But Crouch isn't buying the evidence.
He had actually found a photograph inside a photograph that showed a Whitehead machine in the air. So that doesn't convince me.
This is big for us. We're a small city.
It did convince the mayor of Bridgeport. Bill Finch helped establish a memorial to Whitehead back in 2010.
It's a little bit of a David and Goliath. You know, we know we're up against big odds. We're taking on the Smithsonian, the definitive word in American history. But they're wrong. And Gustav Whitehead had no way to defend himself.
Andy Kosh took the fight to the tarmac.
What was that moment like for you?
It was amazing because I felt like Gustav Whitehead.
What would I say to the people of Bridgeport? I think Gus Whitehead was a really interesting guy, but I don't think he flew before the Wright brothers. With the Wright brothers, you have this super solid foundation. You see this intellectual process that they went through. You can trace it.
For these men, the tinkerer from Bridgeport was extraordinary too, and they hope this pronouncement secures Whitehead's place in the annals of history. Michelle Miller, CBS News, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Great story, but how do you know?
I was going to say, what is the answer still? Being a longtime Connecticut resident, I hope it's true for the home team. But we've grown up on the story of the Wright brothers, and it'll be an interesting shift if we have to make it.
Very interesting. Yeah.